Greetings to whatever troglodyte species watches my YouTube. I haven't made like an actual video in a while. I had an idea, and no, this does not mean I'm gonna be uploading regularly now. The following points may bring forth clarity as to why I've been so unmotivated to make long-form content in recent years. I want to talk about being all alone in life and, not having any friends, not having a relationship, being that kind of a person who really just hates to be around other people. If you are this way, there's nothing wrong with you, as we're often told to feel. You're not an anomaly, even if you feel like one. You know that. I'm also going to be discussing certain mental health issues, disordered eating, and overall what I went through in recent years. These are some topics that really matter to me and which sparked inspiration in me to talk about them in a video. It's also kind of a chance for me to open up because honestly, not everyone cares to hear about all this stuff, and I never discuss it in real life, just through art, music, and now this video. You might want to grab a snack or something because this might be a long one. And I sound really lethargic right now because I stayed up till like 1 o'clock last night writing a goddamn essay. So in high school, if you don't know, I'm a freshman in college currently. In kind of middle school, but high school was really the worst. Middle school I had a few friends. I was extremely antisocial and it really hurt me. I was aware of it and I hated myself for it. Sophomore and junior year especially. That was a dark time for me. These were the years in which we just came out of the pandemic, and I liked the pandemic, being someone who thrives in an isolated environment, so that's why coming out of it was such a traumatizing experience for me. I remember being really mad at myself for being bad at sports and like comparing myself to other girls who played sports, and I just thought like they were really cool and like way cooler than me, and that didn't really make sense to me. Also, I deadass played softball. Like I made an effort. Like I saw a flaw in myself. I'm like, I'm really bad at sports, so I played softball, and I still freaking like was mad because the other girls were better than me. And also, I know this is weird, but for some reason, like subconsciously, I tie my value as a person to my body count, as if I'm a guy. Like that's very manly behavior, and that's such a manly thing to think about myself. So like, I love being a woman. I'm not trans in denial. I am bisexual. Like, as long as you're of age and you can fulfill the holes in my heart, I could be attracted to you. But anyways, you could say I have, like, masculine energy in that sense, but that's besides the point. On to the next bullet point. You know how they say there's a difference between loneliness and being alone? Loneliness is a feeling of a lack of people. You truly crave people in your life and your heart hurts out of a longing for socialization. If that's the case, I don't think I've ever had a lonely period in my life in that sense of the word. My heart hurt out of a lack of self-worth. There's a difference. I've always struggled with bad self-esteem issues. This is scripted, by the way. I don't know if you could tell by the emotionless tone of voice I have. My ex-boyfriend, what I went through while dating him was a whole nother suicide route, quite literally. I made a whole plan and everything, but yeah, there's no way for me to overstate it. He would often get irritated because I depended on him so much, kind of like that borderline personality disorder, like clinging tendency. He broke up with me partly because he, in his words, was okay with being by himself, whereas I'm the type of person to need people around all the time. But the reality is I'm not. I just blame myself for not having people around me, meanwhile depending on him like for validation, and like everybody for validation, you know what I mean? I want to make this very clear, by the way, because I went through some immense pain surrounding this. It doesn't matter whether you've been single your whole life, virgin, no friends, or whatever. It shouldn't matter how much brat you serve, fuck that. Like, that has no bearing on your value. Like, please understand that. Looking back retrospectively, I don't view myself before I met that boyfriend as any more of a loser as after I met him. Fuck that mindset. It took me a while, and I think this just comes with age, growing older. Eventually you get sick and tired of blaming yourself for shit that doesn't matter. This was around senior year of high school to now. I'm learning that preferring to be alone is fine. It's trivial. Yet still, nowadays I find myself genuinely confused and questioning whether isolating myself in college is detrimental to my social health. You know, being a commuter, not meeting up with people in dorms and drinking, not going to parties, etc. Because colleges always tell you that. Our culture always says that you need to make friends or you'll be a loser, you'll have no social skills, you'll be ashamed of yourself. But really, I think my social skills are fine. I go to work and I'm great at talking to people on a very superficial level. That superficial level of conversation is really all you need to get around, contrary to popular belief. It's okay if you find it hard to connect with people on a deeper level. As long as you are fulfilled inside, being by yourself in your free time. And if you believe your social skills are suffering, that's your own war to wage. We're all waging war in life, and it's really up to you to look in the mirror and seek answers. And you really need to ask yourself, like, what matters in life, and are you doing okay? I think that applies for everyone. The main point is this: degrading yourself for preferring a certain thing or certain way of life is doing nobody any good. Not you, not society. Especially if this way of life isn't hurting anyone. That's not to say it's bad to have a fire under your ass and self-discipline. I can say that with certainty. I've always, like, been stupid at levels of discipline, not to, like, toot my own horn or whatever. Like, if there's a damn cowboy whipping a bunch of cattle in my brain, but this is a double-edged sword, as disciplined people are also very anxious people who are awful to be around. I'm sorry, there's no way for me to say that without sounding pretentious. Like, I'm really sorry, genuinely. Also, my parents are watching Beauty and the Beast in the living room, so if you can hear that, drop a freaking, teapot emoji if that even exists. The fuck? Think of anxiety from freaking Inside Out. She's extremely good at getting shit done, but she oftentimes gets carried away and doesn't notice when she's hurting herself, or Riley in the case of that movie. Dude, in 10th grade, this was the year after the lockdown, so I'm like, oh shit, I really gotta get back to the swing of things, because I was so comfortable with like remote school and being at home all the time and not being around troglodyte people at school. I wanted to be skinny, so I ran every day, restricted my carb intake, only ate one meal a day, and when my dad like made goulash for dinner, I would eat like the specks of meat out of it, and that would be all I ate the whole day. I was miserable. I got to a point where this one time I went like 2 days without eating because it made me feel like I had self-control. So yeah, after that period of anorexic behavior, I developed binge eating and bulimic tendencies. I've never been diagnosed with any of this shit, by the way. You can believe I'm completely bullshitting this. I really don't care, because that's besides the point. By the way, while I was starving myself, I grinded schoolwork with goddamn ludicrous amounts of rigor, bitch. I'm talking reading over my AP notes every single goddamn day with metacognition, bitch. Like, you know when L from Death Note said he burns calories by using his brain? Bitch, that was what I was doing every single day. I worked so damn hard and hated myself so much that I remember being afraid to go to sleep sometimes and wake up the next day. I viewed comfort in self-love and treating myself as weakness. Deep down I knew I was being a fool, but I didn't care. I just did it. I didn't think about anything. I liked feeling like I was in the trenches with no food or warmth or music to listen to. I remember this one time at marching band, I was like tweaking because it was so goddamn cold, and by the way, losing rapid weight makes you colder. And this one kid goes, "Why are you acting like it's Vietnam?" But little did he know, I was in Vietnam, and no one knew it. That motherfucker didn't know anything. I would not let myself falter until I snapped and binge ate and threw it up, and it all backfired, and dude, I developed serious self-harm problems, depression, anxiety, and all that bullshit. Both Grabouge albums take inspiration from this period of my life. I finally take meds for it now, but bitch, anyways. What was I saying? Oh yeah. As you can see, you shouldn't treat yourself like that. There's a delicate balance between self-discipline and going insane berserk. And the key factor being motivation and reason. If you drive a fucking vehicle without greasing it from time to time, it'll like break down or explode or some shit. At the same time, I'm glad I came out of that period stronger than before. I'm in a way glad I went through it. And it's crazy to me because I don't talk about this to anyone, and whoever I do speak to, it's hard to convey the immense amount of mental anguish I went through during these like 2 years, 3 years of my life. It's hard to communicate it, and sometimes I often trick myself and forget what it all felt like, but like it did really hurt. I do remember it. It was the most painful period of my life by far. While I was going through all these issues, I didn't have any close friends. I was scared to talk to people, and everyone who did talk to me, I was sure like were being fake, didn't actually like me. And every day going to school was awful. I remember questioning what a friend was. Is a friend someone who you like prefer to talk to outside of school? Is it someone you laugh with? Is it someone you feel safe around? Because I didn't feel safe around anyone, and I didn't laugh with anybody. I always felt on guard and like I was walking on eggshells, even with the closest people in my life, even with my family. I wondered why. I knew like I was good at school. I got straight A's. Oh my god, my brother's playing drums. I freaking like was good at singing, music, and all this bullshit that people say, but like no one was my friend, and it didn't make sense to me at all. Essentially, it rendered all my talents useless because I believed if I didn't have anyone to appreciate them, none of it mattered. And yeah, you could say love yourself, know your worth, but it's hard, especially if your means of improving yourself is degrading yourself. That's how that anxious, self-disciplined mindset works. You don't operate out of passion, you operate out of anxiety, fear of failure. I want to touch on what it feels like to struggle with depression and anxiety as a person who naturally prefers seclusion. There's a song by Death's Dynamic Shroud called Ouroboros that I like to compare it to because it's a bunch of like bullshit reverb delay soup sounds. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to hear it. Akin to being completely isolated, not caring about anything else around you, conversation feeling like pulling teeth, everything's blurry, swallowed in yourself. And while I was writing this script, I'm like, holy shit, maybe that's why it's called Ouroboros, because if you don't know, that's what you call like a snake eating itself. It's like a symbol. Just like the snake, you're swallowed in yourself. I think this is why introvert losers love shoegaze and shit like that. That's why I make all my music so reverby and all, if you've ever heard it. Furthermore, it doesn't help that my vision is bad, and whenever I don't wear my glasses, which is pretty much all the time, it makes everything just feel even more blurry. Another thing, I still do this. Sometimes when I talk to people who aren't family or people I'm close to, I unconsciously cover my mouth while I'm talking, or I'll like stuff my water bottle in my face after I finish a sentence as like a fidget, because sometimes it's uncomfortable to voice my opinion, and that's why I think songs about being true to yourself and having a voice are so beautiful. And if you find yourself in this Ouroboros mindset, completely secluded from the world around you, not caring, almost afraid of the world, finding refuge in a mirror, spacing out, working on yourself too hard, I call this a red behavior, quote unquote, because, you know, my little unified color personality theory thing. Naturally, your soul will beg you to do more green things, like loving animals, feeling empathy, getting into politics, playing sports, overall taking yourself more lightly. This is hard to do, but the second you stop holding yourself accountable for the way you are and let yourself be and loosen your grip, the less you'll hate other people and the easier it will be to pick up on if someone is your type of person. Conversations will be easier. You'll be more aware of the world around you. You'll care more about the present. Let me just say, I've been through some pretty intense dark nights of the soul. Like, my friends from 8th grade barely even recognize me anymore, and I can't lie, that's scary. Let's now talk about irony. You know how there's layers of irony? You probably don't, because that's a really goddamn nerdy thing to know about. But basically, there's layer 1, which is regular irony, there's post-irony, and there's meta-irony. If you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, it's a really complex idea. Watch freaking like Dreg's video on it. J-R-E-G. I don't know how the fuck to say his name, but he does a good job explaining it. But meta-irony, it's when the speaker doesn't even know the intent behind the word. And I feel like when you're scared to voice your opinion and you're afraid of the world outside of your mind, you speak with meta-irony. I've always been this way. I've always like never even known, like, people always tell me, Jenny, I can never understand what you're saying, if it's sarcasm or not. Honestly, I don't know either, is what I would say to you on a deeper level. I'm gonna touch on religion and why I think it's beautiful. Whether or not God is real, believing in God or ancestors or spirit or whatever you want to believe in, it helps people and it gives them a body to lean on. Now, I'm not pious to any particular religion. I'm kind of walking on eggshells talking about this, and I'm sorry if I come off as like insensitive or ignorant, but I love to pray. I love believing in certain angels, God, believing in Buddhist deities as well, because my mom's side is very Buddhist. Religion brought me closer to my aunt. It can really work wonders for mental health. So even if you think religion is irrational, it's still a beautiful thing to me. Dude, you can't prove anything. Fuck it. Metamodernism, postmodernism, last Thursdayism. Why does every essay I write turn into a goddamn existential breakdown, bitch? I don't know. I think that's all I had to say. This video wasn't as long as I expected. I'm only at like 15 or so minutes. Sorry for how chaotic it was. I could have made it more poetic, but I really just don't care. If you take anything from this video, remember to listen to who you are. It's not your fault for being a certain way. When it comes to changing yourself, doing things with brute force never works out. You operate from a place of self-hatred, and that's how your attitude's gonna come across to everyone around you. It's hard as hell to pull yourself out of that mindset. These things take time. Things always change with time.